Mind Over Matter. I'm your host, Anya, and as always, I'm here to bring you fresh perspectives, meaningful conversations, and a whole lot of inspiration. Today's episode is a little bit different, but it's one of the most important topics we have ever tackled. Because, let's face it, self care isn't just bubble baths and journaling, it's also about making tough decisions today that can protect your family's future tomorrow. And to guide us through this, I'm thrilled to have Oscar Vasquez, the founder of EstateDocPrep.com, with us today. Oscar has made it its mission to demystify estate planning, showing us why it isn't just for the ultra wealthy. It's for everyone who wants to leave a legacy and not a mess. With over 68% of Americans lacking a valid will or estate plan, Oscar is here to empower us with tools, insights, and real life examples that could literally save us time, money, and stress. Oscar, welcome to Mind Over Matter.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to bring a ton of value and give you as much information as I possibly can.
Perfect. So let's start with the basics, Oscar. Why do you believe estate planning is such a critical part of self care?
Um, I think that estate planning is something that is going to happen I think, in any part, in any way. Estate planning is something that is absolutely necessary if you have an estate plan, which we all have an estate. So I think it's an essential part for the peace of mind, for the simple fact that it prevents you from going to probate. So having an estate plan, aka a living trust, prevents you from going to probate.
Right. But many people think estate planning is just for the wealthy. How do you help break down that misconception?
Well, the misconception is that everybody has an estate plan. If you don't have to have one, but if you don't meet the minimum requirements of going for probate, everybody should Google what is the minimum requirement to go to probate in your state. So you can say, hey, in order to who what is the minimum requirement to go to probate in the state of California, in the state of Utah. In the state of California, it's 184,500. In the state of Utah, it's 100,000, and in the state of Colorado, it's 60,000. So every state has a different threshold to be able to have that requirement. So it's important for you to understand. So that's the first thing. I always tell people this: if you own a home, you should have an estate plan in place. That's the mandatory effect.
Right. I love that. So, as you mentioned that a whopping 68% of Americans don't have a will. Why do you think so many people avoid estate planning and what are the biggest myths holding them back?
Well, I think that the biggest myths of holding them back is the simple fact that they think it's complicated. It's an uncomfortable conversation that has to do with more than anything, has to do with them not realizing that we're gonna die. Who wants to talk about dying? Who wants to talk about things like in that nature, right? Nobody wants to talk about that. So
Hmm.
I think that that's one of the biggest delays that people have in and misconceptions that they have on that.
Right. So, how do you address those fears or misconceptions when
I would
working
say
with
it again.
them?
What was the question?
Right. So, how do you address those fears or misconceptions when working with families?
Well, we address those misconceptions in a simple reference. One is it's not complicated because we walk you through the entire process. Um, the process on is pretty simple. So what working with us looks like is pretty simple. Once you've signed up, you get you're going to create an account, you're going to create a login and password. Once you create the login and password, then you're going to schedule a call so in loan or estate planning coordinator can work with you on being able to adjust it. Then once you have be able to adjust your estate plan, the second thing is the estate planning coordinator will get on a Zoom call, will walk you through the process, obviously any questions you may have. Then obviously there'll be some homework. One is we're going to be able to talk about getting your assets in place, identifying the assets that need to go in to the living trust so it becomes a funded process. And then we're going to talk about what I call the human element. And the human element is questions that you didn't never even think about. For example, who do you want, if you become incapacitated, who do you want your kids to be with temporarily while you are in the hospital? Who do you want to help pay your bills while you're in the hospital and you become incapacitated? Those are items, those are things that have take a human element because those are things we don't normally think about on a daily basis or very equipped to be able to make a decision. So then so what it looks like for us is we works looks like for working with us, to recap, is one is working with us is a simple process of once you make payment, we schedule a call, we schedule 3 calls with you, and then we help you print out the documents, and then we send you, or you get the documents, you get them signed in front of a notary, and once they're signed and executed, then we help you upload those documents into your vault, and then we start creating what's called funding letters. Funding letters are systems that are letters that are to change title to each property. For example, a real estate property is a funding letter that requires to change of deed. A bank account is another funding letter that needs it. For cars, car registration, boats, assets, anything of asset, we give you unlimited funding letters. Then what happens is you start funding them into the account, and then if there's any additional services that you need, like if you need protection, or you need burial insurance, we give you that opportunity if you need it. If you don't, then that helps you get through the process of the estate planning process, which is a seamless process that makes you go through that.
Mm-hmm. I think that fear of complexity or cost really resonates. I think we're so used to delaying the uncomfortable that we forget how much peace it can bring once it's done. So, what are the most common mistakes people make when they finally decide to start estate planning?
Um, Sorry, say one more time. I got There was a delay. Say it again.
What are the most common mistakes people make when they finally decide to start estate planning?
The mistakes they make when they do well, here's the thing. The first mistake, they can't make any mistakes because the estate planning is your wishes on what you want to have happen to your things. So there is not really the biggest mistake people make is not having an estate plan, or not having an estate plan because now the courts and the government get involved with your assets and make decisions on what's going to happen to your assets. And that means that you're going to have that opportunity to be able to give the government the actual specific instructions that you're going to leave your kids. So, understanding what a living trust is super important. And here, in layman's terms, what a living trust is an agreement between you and your children that the courts help to enforce. In other words, the government help to enforce. So the only way you can make a mistake or not be able to have an estate plan is not having one. That's the biggest mistake ever, because now the government gets involved and the government decides on what happens to your things. Now, obviously, The government's not going to take and disinherit somebody, but they can be disinherited by accident, right? If you didn't name them, the child's out of the country, the child didn't know you died. They just did not have any kind of a sense. So that could be probably a mistake. Oh, another thing that could be a mistake. Good question, making me think here. Another question, another mistake that people have, that people do when doing estate planning, is not getting the estate plan reviewed or not reviewing their own estate plan. In other words, did they fund everything that every asset into the estate plan? One, two, did they not have an estate plan in place to be able to get that on there? And do they need to disinherit somebody? Did somebody die? Did somebody pass? Or did somebody get married? Is there additional child, additional grandchildren, additional things? By updating your living trust, you should be able to review it on a continuous basis about every 36 months.
Okay, so wow, so skipping professional advice can actually lead to bigger issues down the road. That's such an
That,
important takeaway.
that is correct.
So let's talk about living trusts. For someone hearing this term for the first time, what exactly is a living trust and how does it protect a family?
Okay, a living trust is a legal document, a legal contract between you, the trustee, and the beneficiary, your kids, that the courts help to enforce. And the benefits of having a living trust are many, many benefits, but I'm going to go over the top four. The top four benefits of a living trust are: one, it prevents probate. Now, in other words, it doesn't allow the courts to get involved, or the courts or the government to get involved and make decisions on what happens to your assets. You decide. Number two, you avoid the expensive cost of probate. Expensive costs of probate can start from anywhere from, in the state of California, can start, if you have a home, about $500,000. The home is, and the probate cost would be about $26,000. So one, you would avoid that probate. Two, three. The third reason why people do that is that and the biggest benefit, one of the benefits, is that the children get peace of mind. They get peace, or one, they get a tax basis. Sorry. Number three is the tax basis. That means if you own a home and it's worth $700,000 today, but you bought it for 100,000, there's a difference. You would have to pay taxes on that. When you have a living trust, it prevents the estate planning taxes to come into fruition. So you don't have it. So the new tax basis becomes when you pass. So that is the fourth and final reason that people benefit from having an estate plan is something that is very simple but very complicated for people to understand, that people are not always the same, or your kids won't always get along when you're no longer here. And that gives you peace of mind. The peace of mind that you get by being able to know that you're leaving written instructions of exactly what you want to have happen for your assets, with your assets, and how you want them distributed. So there is a specific instruction that is necessary and that is given for everybody. So to recap, the four biggest benefits of having a living trust is: one, you don't get the courts and the government does not get involved and make a decision on your assets. Two, you'll be able to save $26,000 in court fees if you're in California as an example, but it's anywhere from 6 to 8% in court and attorney fees that you'll be put by going to probate. Three, you'll be able to have the opportunity to be able to decide on and give specific instructions on what you want to have happen in your living trust. And fourth, and most importantly, is that your kids won't be arguing, debating, or coming up with different situations to be able to have any doubt in their mind on exactly what you wanted to accomplish in your death. So, like, for example, you'll be able to decide on what happens to your body. Do you want a ceremony? Do you want to be cremated? Do you want to be buried? Do you want to have a large ceremony? Do you want to have a private ceremony? All those things can be added to your living trust that gives all of your kids peace of mind by being able to understand exactly what you wanted. There is no doubt. So having a living trust is super important. And here's the thing that most people don't realize, that if you have a special needs child, you need to protect them from the government and being able to make sure that they have some situation arise and be able to get it by creating a special needs trust for special needs children. So that is something that is provided and that can be done through our services.
Right. So, can you share a specific example of how a living trust saved a family from a messy probate process?
Yeah, well, one of the things that, I mean, I'll give an example. I'll give you two examples. One is I'm going to call it the story from a living trust saved the family. There was a well, did wasn't I wasn't didn't do it, but one of our estate coordinators had a customer that was in the hospital, got diagnosed on a Wednesday. He called them on a Thursday, went in on a Thursday, created a living trust, got all the documents signed on a Saturday, recorded and funded the living trust on a Monday, and the gentleman that created the living trust died on that Friday a week later. And what happened is, now because they put all of the real estate assets into a living trust, he prevented the family from having to pay over $100,000 in probate fees that the courts were going to charge, because the more assets you have, the more you charge, the more you pay. So that would be one specific thing that stands out to me as an aha moment, because having that now, not having a living trust. And let me give you an example. There was a gentleman that lived in Texas, had a family in Texas, and he moved to California, but he left three kids behind. And I don't know if he abandoned them or what happened, but that relationship dissolved and they weren't married. So he came to California and had four more kids. He ended up accumulating over $3 million in real estate. Well, he did not have a probate case. He did not have a living trust in place. So the courts decided to go out, and what happens is they published the item, they published him, they got him on there. The kids from Texas came, and the courts ended up giving up, instead of the kids getting 25% apiece, they got 1/7, because the courts decided to give the three kids from Texas their an equal share of the benefit, even though the deceased person did not want to give them that. That is one way, and that we have seen happen, where you lose. Not all your kids get that. Now, I granted, not everybody's going to have kids that are on there, but that is a real life situation that happened, and somebody got a benefit without it. So that's something that's super important to understand and know. So it's really, really important to understand that.
Hmm. Those are such powerful stories. It really makes you think how even like a little preparation can save your loved ones from so much unnecessary stress in the future.
Yes. Um. Okay. Say it again. You got delayed again.
Okay. And I was just saying, it really makes you think about how even such like little preparation can spare your loved ones from so much unnecessary stress in the future.
Yes, I do see that. So what I like to do is, I have three gifts that I like to give out to you. The first gift is, I want to give out a phone number that you can call, directly. You can call an estateDocPrep.com. We have a 1-800, we have an um artificial intelligence phone number that you could call 24 hours a day. If you have any questions about estate planning, feel free to give us a call at 805 909 4689. That's 805 909-4689. That's the our 24 hours AI assistant for estate planning. Ask any questions. She's there to help, assist, educate you in every way that she can. The second gift that I like to give out is estate.prep.com/guide, a free comprehensive guide. So you can download this guide, estate.prep.com/guide is the guide to be able to download a free comprehensive guide. For those of you that have that, and I want to say thank you for allowing me to be on this crusade and bring awareness to this. Now, I could always say it's never too late. It's never too late to start, but don't delay it because we never know when it's too late. And that too late is when we're already gone. So take advantage of it. Get your estate plan in place. Get your affairs in order. And I look forward to helping you guys create a comprehensive estate plan that'll help you.
Thank you, Oscar. This has been such an eye opening conversation. Thank you for breaking down what can feel like an overwhelming topic into actionable steps that all of us can take to protect our loved ones and our legacies. To everyone listening, estate planning is truly a gift of peace for you and the people you care the most about. If this conversation inspired you to take that first step, don't wait. Head over to estate.prep.com to learn more about how Oscar and his team can make this process simple and stress free. And remember, self care isn't just about the present, it's also about creating a better, smoother future for the people you love. That's the ultimate act of love and responsibility. If you found this episode valuable, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with your family and friends. And let's normalize this conversation together. And don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and join me next week for another thought provoking episode of Mind Over Matter. Until next time, take care of yourself and your family.